translate that name into English, it means the fish with the very loose bowels, or the fish that uses the restroom a lot. That one was a male. You can tell the difference because of their coloring. The females are kind of this dark reddish brown, and since we're sitting down so far, they just look black. The males, however, are bright blues, yellows, greens. Very, very, very vivid coloring. The one we just saw is called the pale-nosed parrotfish. There's like 5 or 6 different types of them here in Hawaii. The pale nose you can tell because it looks like it has this like dark spot right over its eyes, like it's wearing a black mask over its eyes. Parrotfish, only fish that eats the coral. All these other fish are eating an algae on the outside of the coral, kind of grazing on it, like horses or cows would graze on the grass up on the surface. So the parrotfish has a very powerful beak that actually allows it to break apart the coral reef. Does anybody actually, first of all, do you guys know what coral reef is? I'm going to assume that everybody knows it's a living organism, right? You guys know it is alive, yeah? Okay, so that means it's got to be an animal or a plant, yeah? What do you guys think? It's a planimal. Both. Yeah, it's very unique. It's an animal with an algae inside of its skin. So that algae, like all the plants, goes through photosynthesis, uses the sunlight to break carbohydrates down into sugars. That sugar then feeds the animal and turns into ATP and turns into energy and so on and so forth. That biological process. We're going to turn ourselves around and show you guys on the port side. The only reason we show the starboard side first is because they laughed harder at my jokes. No, the real reason is just because of the current. You know, our town is called Kailua-Kona. That is actually a very descriptive name. In fact, the Hawaiian language in general is very descriptive. Kailua means 2 currents, and Kona means the leeward side of the mountain. Now, there's 2 sides of the mountain, right? There's the leeward and the windward side. The windward is where the wind hits, and the leeward is the side that the mountain protects from the wind. So where the Kailua-Kona means the leeward side of the mountain where the 2 currents meet. And that's right in this spot. So every day we have to actually decide which way the current is blowing. And if you see that line attached to the shipwreck right there, you can see that it's pushing towards us. On the other side of the shipwreck, right on the gunwale there, you guys see that kind of like 5-pointed pillow-looking thing attached to the side of the shipwreck right there? That's called the shark's pillow sea star. That's actually a starfish. Very interesting little creature there. So let's talk about this shuttle. Fix it up. They rebuilt the cabinets and the nice teak deck on board, and it was too late when they realized that they had just brought a bunch of termites on board their ship. So they asked everybody how to get rid of the termites, and everybody on land said that there's 2 very popular methods. There's poison and there's smoke. Poisoning, tenting, is a very expensive endeavor on land, and it's even more expensive when you're talking about your boat. So they decided to go the smoke route. You can probably tell where this story is going at this point. Well, when the husband went back to Alaska, his wife decided to use a safety flare, thinking that safety flares have a lot of smoke, but not a lot of fire. The one thing she didn't realize is that safety flares are burning phosphorus magnesium, so they burn around 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Wood will ignite at 450 degrees Fahrenheit, depending on what material or what type of wood, anywhere from like 350 to 450. So she's going around smoking out these termites when that slag from the flare fell on the wood. The wood caught fire, without the coral, we don't get the fish. Without the fish, we don't get the plankton. Now the plankton is why the water looks milky, it's why it looks very foggy. But that plankton actually provides us with about 70% of the oxygen we breathe up on the surface. 70% of all the oxygen we breathe on the surface comes from the ocean. So without the coral, we don't get the oxygen, right? So the coral is very important for the ocean, but it's also very important for us as humans, as everything on the surface. Ooh, there's one of those female parrotfish. You see that 2-toned fish kind of swimming upwards right now, kind of a dark face? Okay, so I told you guys they eat coral, right? Yep. Now, that fish right there eats the coral, grinds it all up using grinding plates in its throat, eats the animal, eats the plant, cannot digest the mineral exoskeleton. So when it eats the coral, all that limestone gets ground up into tiny little particles and passes through the south end of a northbound parrotfish. It's a 4-letter word that starts with S. It's called sand. You're looking at it. That parrotfish right there just produced some sand for us. So they'll eat birds right out of the sky. They're a very, very aggressive and very mean fish. They are just angry all the time, and nobody knows why. They just have a very angry disposition. In fact, if I'm in the water, I'm more scared of that guy than I am a shark. I'll swim with sharks, no problem. But that guy right there, no thank you. They just like to attack for no reason at all. The sharks, they need a reason. Alright, did you guys feel that fun? Turn to your neighbors. Say hi to a stranger, and that's the deepest conversation you'll ever have in your life. Alright. So my pilot just let me know that we're out of air, so we gotta get back. I'm sorry, what? Sorry, that's a terrible mistake. We're out of time. We have plenty of air, but we are out of time. We're going to go ahead and start our surfacing procedure here. So I'm going to switch this PA back over to your pilot's channel. We're going to listen in as she's. There's no cables, rails, tracks, or anything like that. We started. Actually, we're close to where we started now, but we start over there and zigzag all over, and we surface over here somewhere. But we were motoring when we were disembarking. So. If you guys would like to stand up, get a picture, it is right there. You know, you're more than welcome to. Hold on to the boat though. We got some wind shock going on. If you're feeling a little queasy, watch the horizon. You know,